What's up, fam? Welcome to another installment of TSC Unleashed. What's up, fam? We in this thing. Wednesday is going down. TSC Unleashed. We in the building. Big ups to the Black and Gold family members chiming in. Hope y'all fantastic. Who that? Wednesday is going well. It's hump day. We in the middle of this thing, man. It's almost over with. I'm Big Q chiming in on TSC Unleashed Wednesday edition. Uncle Mozzi, my co-host, is in the building. Uncle Mozzi, how you doing today, fam?
What's going on, my brother? How you doing? How y'all doing today?
Doing good, bro. Doing good. Everything is well in the hood. Big ups to the rest of the family members chiming in this edition of TSC Unleashed. Today we'll talk about some NFL news and notes of the day. Wednesday NFL injury roster news will give you a little bit of that for week 9. Also some releases that happened as well, dealing with the Titans and the Chicago Bears. We also cover some C19 news dealing with the Niners. AB and his progressions of what's going on the Tampa Bay side of things. Latest NFL power ranking. And of course, a little basketball news dealing with Drew Holiday. And of course, some boxing news dealing with the former heavyweight champion and knockout artist supreme Deontay Wilder. Makes a spectacular claim. We'll play that claim here on the show today. So without further ado, we got a very interesting Wednesday TSC we're going to come at you guys today. So please hit the like button and thank y'all for joining us. Big ups to Fella Throw Docs, Smoke Dog, what's happening? Tro Blewett in the building as well, and the rest of the family members. Thank y'all for joining us on this one. Gonna get underway. Gonna start off with Wednesday NFL injury news and roster news for week number 9. Odell Beckham's recovery begins next week. Cleveland Browns general manager told a reporter Wednesday that Beckham is slated for surgery early next week to repair a torn ACL in his left knee. Beckham suffered it in the first quarter of the Browns' Week 7 win over the Bengals. Once the extended injury was learned, it was determined that Beckham's season would be over. In 7 games, Beckham finished the year with 23 catches for 319. He had 3 scores. The wideout also had 3 carries for 72 yards and another score as well. Beckham's recovery will be monitored closely by teams perhaps interested in the 3-time Pro Bowler. The NFL's network Ian Rappaport reported that this past Sunday that there is a very real possibility that Beckham may have played his last game in Cleveland once he's become healed. Also, in other news around the NFL to be monitored, Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Chris Goodwin was seen at practice with a cast on his left hand. Goodwin missed Monday night's game versus the Giants after having surgery on the finger. And according to NFL Network's Sarah Walsh, Goodwin said that he won't know until Friday whether he can actually catch a ball. So Goodwin, watch out for him. Carolina Panther running back Christian McCaffrey was back in pads Wednesday as Panthers head coach Mike Rule says he looks good, sharp. We'll see how his body responds. This is his first padded practice today. We'll see how he responds to the duress. And then, of course, McCaffrey hasn't played since week 2 when he suffered a ankle injury he had. Left tackle Russell Okung had a calf injury, was a full participant, as well as defensive end Zach Kerr, who had a toe issue. Cornerback Corn Elder was also limited. So that's good news for Carolina getting Christian McCaffrey back. Good news for me because McCaffrey's on my fantasy team. Pittsburgh Steelers guard Steven Wisniewski has been activated to the 53-man roster. When Wisniewski's pectoral was placed on injury reserve after week 1 has missed the last 6 games in a corresponding move. The Steelers placed Ulysses Gilbert back on the IR. That's some of the news dealing with the injury report. Let's move into other news. Titans GM on Vic Beasley. Not every decision that works out. That's Vic Beasley. That's right. Former linebacker, defensive end player Vic Beasley was released by the Tennessee Titans. Also, they released the longtime cornerback, veteran cornerback Jonathan Joseph as well, as they're trying to open up more room for Jadeveon Clowney to go as well. So Vic Beasley is out there as well as Jonathan Joseph. Also, Teddy Ginn Jr. was released by the Chicago Bears as well. He's a free agent, so hopefully, probably the Saints will bring him back too. You never know how they do things. Of course, looking at the NFC, keeping the NFC the South theme going, Antonio Brown had a big smile on his face in his first practice this morning. He didn't participate in the special teams walkthrough, though, the 20-minute window that was open to the media, but in watching him go through the stretching and ability workouts on the side, he appears to be in excellent shape, and he looked happy to be there and was engaged with his teammates, spending a lot of time chatting. McCoy, along with running backs coach Todd McNair and receivers coach Kevin Garver. All the words on the street is that he's in excellent condition. He looks sharp in practice, and of course he'll play some role in the game. Of course, Bruce Arians is saying that it could be anywhere between 5 to 10% to 35%. Who knows? With Goodwin out, Brown is definitely to be used in the matchup. Of course, and let's move into the rankings. Actually, let's get Uncle Mozzi. Uncle Mozzi, I don't want to go too far in the stories without getting your commentary on some of the stuff that you heard dealing with the NFL roster news and injury news dealing with Christian McCaffrey, the Vic Beasley release.
Yes, sir.
Again, Junior getting released and all that kind of beautiful stuff. And, of course, Antonio Brown's thoughts. What are your thoughts on those stories?
Well, I mean, obviously it's going to be a big plus for Carolina getting McCaffrey back. He is the Carolina offense. He is the Carolina Panthers offense. Bridgewater is serviceable. Obviously, that receiving core is getting to be one of the best in the league. But there is no offense or considerably less offense without McCaffrey in. So that's going to definitely be a plus for them. And maybe you could pick up some fantasy wins, because I heard you've been slipping lately in the Coma fantasy.
I don't see what you're talking about, fam.
But that's neither here nor there. I'll be winning that back and getting back in the rotation.
Only body I know is at 500 in the Sports Coma Fantasy League is you, my friend. I think you're 500, aren't you?
Yeah, but I mean, we got a whole half a season left. So, I had a lot of injuries. I had a lot of tricks. Come on, bro.
You got a lot of excuses,
Don't
too.
do that. Nah, I ain't got a lot of excuses. I ain't got too many of them. But it's good that Christian's gonna be back. As far as AB, man, I mean, when he left, he was the best receiver in football, hands down, in my opinion, anyway. And hopefully he can get back on the winning track. I think he respects Tom Brady enough to not come with the shenanigans, and they got him so strung up by these contract stipulations. I don't think he can wipe his ass sideways and get paid. I think he'll get released. So he's got a lot to develop into. He's got a lot to kind of wrap his mind around, because everything that he said up to this point on Twitter, everything that he's been saying, in a good positive fashion thus far, he's going to really have to show improve in that locker room and on that practice field. And we know how that blew up in Philadelphia. We know how that blew up again in Oakland before they moved to Las Vegas. And, for all intents and purposes, it was okay when he was with the Patriots, but we know that only lasted one game, a couple days, like 4, 5, 6, 7 days, and then he was out of there. So it just remains to be seen how he's going to adapt to his reinstatement, his newly found activation. He's always wanted to play with Tom Brady, so now I think that this is his opportunity to show everybody that he's not who social media says he is. And hopefully for him, being a phenomenal talent he is, he's good for football. I don't care what anybody says. He makes it more exciting, especially going to Tampa Bay, who's already slated to be one of the contenders this year. We just got to watch and see how he's going to, mesh with Tom Brady. And, but I mean, Tom Brady has had his cases in the past. I mean, Randy Moss was same type of situation. Head case, had league-wide problems throughout his career. And, he went over to New England and, he kind of straightened it out and finished strong. So, I mean, hopefully AB can have that same kind of arrangement. It just remains to be seen.
Yeah, definitely that. To see how he acquiesces, and we'll see. It's definitely a tremendous talent, and the Saints got their hands full. But a lot of people not giving us a shot. I agree with you, Travis. Who that to you out there in the chat as well. Big ups to you in Elite Goods, JT. I see you, fam. Appreciate the family members join us. On to the next story. San Francisco 49ers shut down the facility after wide receiver Kendrick Bourne test positive for C-19 test. The injuries and all of the turmoil, and now C-19 is in the building with the San Francisco 49ers. One day after they were scheduled to play the Green Bay Packers on Thursday night, the 49ers shut down the facility because of the C-19 test Wednesday morning. The news confirmed that the positive test at the league source told ESPN's Adam Schefter that wide receiver Kendrick Bourne tested positive. League sources told ESPN that Thursday's game is expected to go on as scheduled, pending more contact tracing and information. In a statement, the Niners acknowledged the positive test and said they have entered the league's intensive protocol. The 49ers were informed today that a player has tested positive for C-19 and an individual immediately went into self-quarantine. The statement said our organization has entered the NFL's intensive protocol and we are working with the league on contact tracing to identify high-risk individuals. All team functions will be conducted virtually today. The health and safety of the players and staff and community of our organization are highest priority. We will continue to work closely with the NFL and medical professionals and follow their direction. So that's coming on from the 49ers dealing with the C-19. So we hope the Niners and everybody there are fine. It's very serious. Moving on to the NFL Power Rankings released by the NFL.com for week number 9. Of course, we talk about some of the top teams in the NFL. 4 teams entering into Sunday into the top 10 of the Power Rankings fell in week 8, opening door for the Cardinals to crack the elite club for the first time all season. Not a bad result when you're in a bye. Week 9 will give 3 showdowns between top 10 teams this week. Power Rankings: Seattle versus the Bills, Ravens, Colts, Saints, Bucks. We'd like to see this. What this bring in the NFL landscape is some of the top teams facing off at each other. And here's a look at some of the chaotic power rankings as brought by the NFL Network. At the top of the list, you can feel free to chime in anytime, Uncle Mozzi. Kansas City seats entrenched at the top. They're 7-1. They occupy the number 1 slot. In week 8, a home game against the Jets profile as an ideal get-right game for Patrick Mahomes' stat sheet. The contest played out as expected as Mahomes was casually dominant in the 35-9 win, throwing for 416 and 5 touchdowns without a turnover. You'll be remembered as a return as Mahomes in the role of the Mad Bomber. He completed 5 passes for at least 25 yards to 4 different pass catches. 4 of those resulted in touchdowns. The Chiefs didn't rely much on Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Le'Veon Bell. They ain't need to. Mahomes was bombing all day. Chiefs at the number 1 spot. Number 2, the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers sit at number 2. And really, should they sit at number 1? Mozzie being they undefeated. I mean, 7-0. The Chiefs is with 1 defeat is sitting there, but it's just a lot of people just keep giving it to Kansas City. I think Pittsburgh should be in that spot. Another impressive performance by the Steelers, who rattled the Lamar Jackson in the 4 turnovers, got their mojo back on offense with a 28-24 win. The defense surrendered 265 yards on the ground to Baltimore, but it made huge plays to swing another one-score game between the 2 rivals. Robert Spillane set the tone with pick 6 in the first quarter. The front 7 swallowed up Jackson on the 4th and short draw deep in the Steelers territory. With 2 minutes to play, Minka Fitzpatrick broke up Jackson's end zone pass on the final play of the game to clinch the victory. Pittsburgh, talented, well-coached team that knows how to close. They play every week. They ranked number 2 in the standing. Of course, next, number 3, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 6-2, holding the 3rd rank there. The Buccaneers, of course, in week 6 and week 7 on Monday, winning an ugly one, very close, and of course the referees aided in that one, like we said. Number 4 in the standing ranking, Seattle at 6-1. Beautiful bounce back win by Seattle, who was dominant performance for Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf. Helped propel them from what they were previously at 6 to number 4. Number 5, the Ravens dropped there. They were previously 4, so they slide a spot. Ravens, had a tough game with Pittsburgh. They lost there. The Ravens are, of course, 5-2. And the number 6 ranking, who popped up from 10 to 6 in the top 10 rankings, the New Orleans Saints is in the building. How about that? Kamara continues to carry the Saints on offense, doing it all. 163 scrimmage yards in Sunday's overtime win over the Bears. 3rd game with 150-plus scrimmage yards this season. He's the man running and catching, as Thomas, Callaway, and Sanders, the top 3 or 4 wide receivers, are missing. The Saints are ranked at number 6 in the power ranking. Number 7 is the Green Bay Packers, who were bounced out of the playoffs last season because the defense wasn't competitive enough against the 49ers. How confident should they be in Mike Pettine's unit, where they had where they gave up with Delvin Cook, who scored how he scored on them? Absolutely ridiculous. They fell from number 5 to number 7 in the power rankings. Buffalo Bills climbed 2. Well, they stay at 8. They was ranked 8 last week. They're 8th now at 6-2. Bills beat the Patriots for the first time in 9 years. It's a sure sign as the Bills have arrived. They knocked off a garbage time Patriot club. And of course, we have at ranking at number 9, the Indianapolis Colts, led by Phillip Rivers, the old man Rivers, as I call him. They got the team. They were once 14 last week. They are 9 in this ranking. They were able to get into the top 10 as they welcome back Darius Leonard. The Lions would drive a chance to take the lead in the third quarter. Sunday, with Leonard, who had been out since week 4, had a groin injury, got to Matthew Stafford for a strip sack that changed the game. Phillip Rivers and the Colts defense leveraged the turnover into a quick touchdown. Him and Kenny Moore hooked up. And then, of course, Kenny Moore put the game to bed with that pick 6 on the ensuing Lions possession. From 20-14 to 35-14 in less than 4 minutes of the game, Colts are now 5-2 and ranked number 9. And then, of course, the final team in the top power ranking is the Arizona Colts, who are 5-2, who are on a bye. And could I tell you, this team coming off a nice win over Seattle. Arizona, watch out for Arizona as well. And of course, give you 2 more. Tennessee is ranked number 11, just outside the top 10. They fell. They were ranked last week at 7, and then the Los Angeles Rams, who are ranked at 12. So the top 10, top 12 power ranking. Uncle Mozzi, you heard the ranking. What do you think about it? Are you still there, Uncle Mozzi?
Yeah, I'm still here. Just had a slight technical difficulty, but it's to be expected because you got my computer somehow. I don't know, you possessing it or something. Something you're doing. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet.
Is
but
that
I
an
will.
Apple computer?
I got an IT guy. It is, but I got an IT guy coming down from. I'm sorry.
I just asked you about an Apple computer.
I got a guy coming from MIT. He's gonna trace it and figure out exactly what it is you're doing. He'll be here sometime later this week. I'm not gonna let you.
Make sure make sure he brings a hammer to make sure he fixes it good.
Go around it, but yeah, he's gonna be on.
But what's your thoughts on the power rankings? Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Well, again, Kansas City definitely belongs in the number 1 spot. I know Pittsburgh is putting up a really good argument because they're playing lights out football.
They're undefeated.
They're undefeated. Yeah, they belong past the Steelers. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. You got to understand, man. Like, Kansas City is exciting. They put asses in the seats. Pittsburgh is vanilla. They're the San Antonio Spurs versus the Golden State Warriors, if that makes sense. San Antonio was a much more solid. It was a much more solid team than the Golden State run, but they're just as solid. But they'll never be touted as that team because they're not exciting. They're vanilla. Tim Duncan was boring. The most exciting player they had on their team was Manu Ginobili. So I mean, here we are again. The most exciting player you got on that team is Juju. Everybody else is really vanilla. So just simply from that fact, that's why Kansas City is always going to retain that top spot over at least Pittsburgh. Now I will say this: if Pittsburgh had been Baltimore, even if they had the same record with 1 loss, I think that Baltimore might take them if Baltimore had won the head-to-head. The Saints coming up full slots in the power ranking against after beating Chicago. That's a good sign, but I mean, they still leave a lot to be desired during the gameplay. We need to come out and assert ourselves immediately. And I understand we had been without Thomas and Sanders for a while, and I understand that we had to kind of figure things out. I understand that Drew's kind of up in age. I understand we didn't have any real OTA. I get all of that. But these 3 and 4 and 1, these little small victories, small margins of victories with the talent pool we have, it's just totally unacceptable, and we got to stop it. I am glad we did get up to that number 6 power ranking, however, and I'll take it however I could get it. But I almost feel like we're paper champs at this point, sitting at number 6. When I think that because of our gameplay, record aside, we should probably be somewhere around 10 or 11, just because of the simple fact we have not been assertive as a team versus the talent that we have, if that makes sense. Everything else is pretty much where I would put everybody else. I mean, you got a few deviations. You can go up one slot, down 1 slot, but I mean, it's about right now. The if I had to put my top 5 together, it'd be KC at 1. It would be obviously Pittsburgh at 2, Seattle at 3, Tampa Bay at 4. And rounding up my top 5, I'd probably have to say it'd be probably Las Vegas, just because of the clutch wins they put together this year. They got the ability to win. I mean, they're a really good team, and I think they could beat anybody on any given Sunday, playoffs or otherwise. And they don't have this big gigantic talent pool like everybody else has, with the exception of Darren Waller. But he was homegrown, drafted there, and he kind of just found his way, last year to becoming the tight end that he is today.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, I still think Pittsburgh should be ahead of them, but what the hell did I know? They're undefeated. Usually, when undefeated teams usually go on top because they have yet to lose a game.
Put asses in the seats.
That don't matter. That don't matter, Uncle Mozzi.
That doesn't matter. They don't put.
They haven't lost any games. They're undefeated.
They gotta put ass.
Not losing any games matters.
Listen, let me ask you a question. Would you buy a $100 ticket to go see Pittsburgh or $100 ticket to go see Kansas City?
None of them.
I'll wait. Exactly. What?
None of them.
None of them. Come on, man. Go.
Because I'm not a Steelers or Chiefs fan, so I ain't giving them no money. None of them. But if I had,
I get that.
But the thing is, 7 and when you're undefeated, that has to count for something. But I understand where you're coming from. You're right. That was a good analogy. The Kansas City being Golden State and Pittsburgh being San Antonio Spurs. So that was a good cross. Yeah, that's a good cross sport analogy. All right, let's move into our basketball story. We got Drew Holiday rumors here for our Pelican faithful. Drew Holiday trade rumors are back on and smoking. And then what's different about these rumors this time around is that, of course, with Stan Van Gundy being called or hired as the coach, he even picked up his first assistant coach. We'll cover the latest on Pelican Post Game Report on Friday night on the Pelican Post Game Report channel. Please feel free to subscribe. Link in the description section below. Pelicans make star guard Drew Holiday available. Several contending teams showing interest. Not a big surprise for me. Drew Holiday is 30 years old. He has 2 years remaining on his current contract. And obviously, he is not in the team's future plans. So what does that look like? Where after failing to qualify for the playoffs last year, the Pelicans will look to bounce back under new coach Stan Van Gundy in order to improve their ability to contend in the ultra-competitive Western Conference. The Pelicans plan to make some moves with their rosters. One appears to involve star guard Drew Holiday. The Pelicans are openly discussing Holiday in trade talks, and several contending teams are pursuing, according to Shams Charania of The Athletic. Holiday currently has that 2 years remaining on his current contract, which includes a player option worth over $26 million for the 2021-2022 season. Now, from The Athletic, the Pelicans are openly discussing guard Drew Holiday in trade talks with several teams. He's been with the scene since 2013, has been a popular name in trade discussions as the Pelicans navigate to rebuild through their younger players, and thought to be one of the better defenders at his position in the league. The one-time All-Star could bolster a contending roster. Holiday was the 2020 NBA Teammate of the Year, so his locker room presence is something that may be appealing to other teams. He's coming off a 2019-20 season where he averaged 19.1 points a game, just under 7 assists, and just under 5 rebounds a contest. This is the first time Holiday's name has been circulating in trade talks, as late as the Nets and Pelicans reported discussed the trade involving Holiday prior to the trade deadline of last year. The Nuggets and Heat are also hotly in pursuit. Those teams could also still have interest in acquiring the former All-Star. He's an elite perimeter defender, but capable of playing both on and off the ball on the offensive end. Holiday's skill set is ideal fit for today's game as such. Other contenders like the Lakers, Bucks, 76ers, and Clippers could use a player of his status. Now, Holiday was very valuable to the Pelicans. He will be even more so on a team set up to win immediately. The young Pelicans, who are trying to build their team around Zion Williamson and All-Star Brandon Ingram, is that they're trying to contend with those two young stars. By trading Holiday 30, the Pelicans would likely look to add younger pieces that can align better with his team timeline. Holiday, who averaged that 19 points a contest, still has a lot of good ball left in him and could ultimately prove to be a big boon to a contending team that is able to land him. A lot of favorites of the Nets. You heard the stories on the Pelicans rumors. Uncle Mozzi, your thought process on this?
Well, where there's smoke, there's fire. We've been hearing about this Drew Holiday thing for a while. I remember, I guess maybe far back as probably May or June. I mean, the talks were resonating. It was definitely resonating after the lackluster performance that he had, he put up in the bubble. So, I was always told that smoke, there's fire. Drew Holiday is a really good piece for somebody. Could be for us. I don't necessarily know if he fits Stan Van Gundy's mold. I don't really know what they're looking for, but I mean, maybe they get some quality pieces for him. I mean, at this point, um, everything is speculation, everything is up in the air. But one thing that we do know, it's been something that they've talked about for quite some time, and I think they're going to go ahead on and move him. What ultimately we'll get for him remains to be seen. I mean, you touched on some speculative trade rumors or whatever, but it just remains to be seen. At his age, skill set, with the way he's performed over the last couple of years, I don't see getting another. I don't see getting an all-star, potential all-star. Maybe a young player we could develop. That's kind of what Van Gundy likes anyway. I mean, you saw what he did in Orlando. A lot of those guys were just drafted or rejects, and he put that together and made a run at the finals, which was pretty phenomenal. With just a Dwight Howard at that time.
Jimmy Nelson.
That was the last, waning twilight years of centers being dominant and shoot threes and all this other foolishness. But how he plays, that was kind of the last of those years. Um, just couldn't get around Kobe Bryant and the Lake Show. So I mean, it remains to be seen. I think they're gonna go ahead and move him. I think they'll get him out of there, and we just got to see what we're gonna get for him.
All right. Well, yeah, it's definitely where smoke's a fire. They're definitely serious about it. A lot of noise was circulating before the signing of Stan Van Gundy, but now that these rumors have circulating after the signing of the head coach, they have had an opportunity to basically gauge on what direction the team is going. And Drew Holiday with 2 years left on his contract. Pelicans are going to look to add guys, and I'm thinking probably a favorite would be the Brooklyn Nets. What they offer and whether the Pelicans are interested in Karis LeVert and whether or not they can make the contracts work, we'll just have to see. It'll probably be a three-way deal of some sort that has to play into it for them to be able to acquire some of that talent from Brooklyn. We'll see how it shakes, man. This is interesting. We'll cover more of this on the Pelican Post-Game Report on our Pelican Post-Game Report channel, family. So be on the lookout for that Friday's broadcast on that channel. Link in the description section. Let's move on to our final story of the day, which is boxing. We're going to talk a little boxing before we go. And we're going to talk about champions, the heavyweights, the big boys on the block. Former heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder. It has a claim out. Of course, earlier we covered on Ring Kings Boxing last Friday was the fact that Deontay Wilder came out and said that Tyson Fury cheated, that he hit him with something. He had something in his glove that dented the side of his head and cut, and of course it damaged his ear, and it created a dent in his side of his head. He had the doctor pictures and all that. Issue with Deontay Wilder is he waited a while to come out with this stuff. He was noticeably absent, and all of a sudden, after disappearing from the sport and disappearing off the planet for a little bit, he's coming back and he's making a lot of claims about Tyson Fury, which I'm documenting and researching Tyson Fury, and he was involved in a lot of different scandals, I must say, from everything from steroids and all this kind of stuff. So he's not a clean fighter at all. But the reality is Wilder is fortifying that point. The latest accusation is Deontay Wilder sensationally claims that his water was spiked against Tyson Fury and had no control over his body. We're going to play an interview from what Deontay Wilder says so you guys can hear it from the horse's mouth. So we'll tune this up. This is Deontay Wilder with his thoughts on what happened. Listen closely. All right, give us a second, fam. We're getting it tuned up here. We'll let it go. All right, so look like we have an issue with it, but we'll see what we can do with it. Hold on here. Just give me a second. We'll get it going. Maybe not. We might not be able to get it going. We'll just have to see about it. But anyway, let me read some of the article until we get the interview done. Is that Wilder sensationally claimed that his water was spiked against Tyson Fury and he had very little control over his body. And they're saying the American released a video online listing several excuses 9 months after he was dethroned. And it's been a while, so I'm saying he waited, in my opinion, too long to make some of these accusations. But And the fresh accusation, which is absolutely, he has no evidence, but Wilder said that his drink was tampered with, which he claims weakened his legs. So really interesting. Also, he told a 78 Sports TV about 15 minutes before going out to the fight, warning of his mitts. It was perfect. I felt great. So, I mean, he also started saying that he felt weird. My water was spiked. It's